Whoa. All I'm saying is you have all the ammunition that you'll ever need. Welcome to the podcast. Today we're going to talk about how to get into the right headspace to be able to talk in front of the camera. Ah, yes. Podcast time. And I did write down a few notes. What are we going to talk about today? What's going on? Mark here with Echelon Media. So as mentioned earlier, we're going to talk about how to get in the right headspace for talking in front of a camera. This is something that I feel I have to address, and it's a little tricky because it's not as easily actionable for everyone across the board because it goes into mindset and it goes into digging down into your personality, so it can get very different from case to case, person to person. And so I'm going to try to kind of attack this with some broad strokes. By that I mean it's difficult to track down or figure out just why it is that you have a hard time speaking in front of the camera, because you may have individual reasons why it's tricky for you. For some people, maybe it was because they grew up super shy and introverted. For some people, they're super extroverted, but there's just something about being in front of the camera that throws them off, and that can be a pretty frequent issue that tends to happen to people as soon as the eye of that lens starts looking down right at your face. It can get very tricky and weird. It definitely took a bit of time for me to get adjusted to that feeling, and so I don't imagine it's going to be that natural for most people. The reason why I want to talk about this is because it is extremely critical and useful in this day and age of customer acquisition. And I call it customer acquisition because really we can call it marketing, and I think that's a very fancy term to use. Marketing is a very good convoluted phrase if you're in the industry, so to speak. But really at the end of the day, it's just about getting customers to your business. So I call it customer acquisition, and it requires a very specific skill. Part of this skill, and the reason why I wanted to talk about this specific subject, is that part of the selling process that I've come to discover is that it's not necessarily about the good quality of product and service. I mean, those things matter. Those quality of product and satisfaction that the customers receive through the services that are rendered are obviously very critical things. And those are very big selling points as far as your business goes. But the thing that actually, one of the missing pieces that I feel most people don't necessarily have is being able to sell the business. And it comes with a certain level of confidence to be able to talk about your business, which is the ironic thing about this particular topic. As you can see, as you probably saw with the intro, let me just go over my notes really quick. Okay, got it. So as you probably saw in the intro, it was it was very dramatic. And the notion being that you have everything that you could ever need. You have everything that you ever need to be able to do what you need to do for your business. That's why there was that whole thing about the loading the gun and then passing it over and saying that you have all the ammunition that you'll ever need. And the reason why I did that is because, honestly, when I sit down with business owners, I come to find that they already know whatever it is that they need to talk about. They know how to sell their business just on that initial interview, getting to understand the business. They can speak passionately about their business. But for whatever reason, especially for newer entrepreneurs, newer business owners, they get hang-ups about just what they're supposed to talk about when it comes to selling their product. Admittedly, I've been guilty of this in the past. I wouldn't say guilty. It's not something that you're necessarily guilty of. It's been something that hangs over my shoulders. And even doing this at times, I do have to sit down and kind of figure out what it is that I want to talk about. But in understanding the value that you have to provide to your customer, I feel that it should be pretty easy to be able to deliver that when you spit out your spiel to any potential lead or prospect that you have in front of you. Unfortunately, again, when you take that same set of skills and put it on video, which is exactly what that serves to do. So to clarify, video actually serves to Video stands in video is a stand-in for you in the social media space to be able to talk about your business and to be able to sell your business to customers without you actually having to be there all the time. And the beautiful thing about it is that piece of content, depending on whatever it is that you decide to create, will always be there unless, of course, you decide to take it down. But imagine if you could multiply yourself and have yourself talk about the benefits of your business or services constantly, almost 24/7, over this platform that everyone has their eyeballs on. A lot of small businesses tend to gravitate towards traditional media and traditional advertising, or as we're calling it, customer acquisition. But the thing about that is, it costs a lot, and most of the eyeballs aren't necessarily there. I mean, really think about it. More people are kind of getting into, but more people are getting into trouble and getting into accidents because they stare at their phones than they are necessarily because they're looking up and actually seeing billboards. And the cost of such things is typically astronomical, especially for a young entrepreneur, someone just starting up in business. So I love the platform of social media because it's so inexpensive. And you have access to this tool that you can use to reach out to so many different people and actually narrow down to very specific people that you need to speak to. And yet most people write it off because it's free, because they assume that there's no value in that. And the other part of it is because you're scared. So going back to the mindset, those are all very good points. I don't want to deviate too much. But let's get back to the mindset. I can yell at you and say, get over your embarrassment. This is something you do on a day-to-day basis. But that doesn't necessarily work for people. Some people, they just need a little bit of a nudge or maybe even a kick in the ass to get them going, to actually start talking about their business. And you give them a few tips and tricks with the camera and the audio and all those things, and they're rolling. But for some people, it's still there's a bit of hesitation as to how they can go about using video, using social media to go live, for example, which is, I think, the ultimate of being able to actually speak in front of a camera, is to do that live and off the cuff. I mean, that's what we do anyways. Every time we meet a new customer, it's live and off the cuff. Is to speak confidently from the place that you're most familiar with. So if you happen to, let's say a gun shop owner, only because, it was kind of part of the theme here. If you happen to own a gun shop and you're the most knowledgeable person, you're a subject matter expert in your field, obviously you're going to know everything that there is to know about what you do and what you sell and all the products that you have available at your disposal. Trying to convey that sometimes can be easy on a one-to-one basis, especially when you have the reactions of another human being in front of you and they can actively respond or ask questions. But in front of a camera, it's difficult because you don't have that feedback. But just in as natural of a way that you can, speak exactly to the specifics of, let's narrow it down to a particular handgun. So that would be the first point, is to narrow it down. You have a body of knowledge that you can pull from. And the thing about it is that can be a little bit intimidating when you're trying to speak to a specific customer. Do that. Speak exactly to one item, to a very specific customer, and let them know the details of that product. For example, if you want to talk about a particular handgun in this case, you can talk about the qualities of that weapon, the pros and cons of that weapon, the reviews of other people, or the experience that other people have had with that particular weapon, and then close them towards the end and tell them sort of a price where they can get a hold of you and all those things. Easy peasy, super simple. That can be 1 minute, 2 minutes, or if you decide that you're comfortable with rambling on about this and you're okay with putting it out there, obviously you can do that. But you can define just how long or how short this video is based on the amount of information you want to provide to people. And it doesn't require any sort of bravery. I don't feel like it really requires you having to not be embarrassed. you're just talking to a camera, I mean, you can, we'll move on to this in the next point. You can certainly scrutinize it, but just start there. Start with focusing in on one item, one piece of information that you want to deliver to a very specific client who may ask these set of questions all the time. And I sound like I'm repeating myself, but this is key for setting up the mindset to be able to comfortably speak on your business and be able to share that on social media. The next point that I want to discuss is now that you're talking about one very specific topic and you've narrowed it down to the type of customer that you want to speak to, also consider the fact that it's not a matter of removing the embarrassment so much as it is you already know this information, and there's no need for anyone to necessarily coach you when you're at the store or when you're in front of a customer. You may have questions every now and then, and you can openly say, hey, there are parts of what I know that I don't know, or there are bits of information that I don't necessarily know about this particular thing, but if you wanted to get in a conversation with me, I can definitely look that up and pull that out. You have to try and be as sincere as you possibly can be. Trying to portray this image of being the all-knowing expert in what you do, critical. Obviously, you want to sound like you know what you're talking about as an expert. That being the case, it can lock you up because then you feel like, oh, I don't really know everything that there is that I need to know. I've got a competitor who is far more knowledgeable than I am. They're already putting out content. And I mean, isn't that great enough motivation to actually push yourself into doing this? Is you see a competitor who's doing this. And I'm seeing more and more that people, especially here locally in Sarasota, are starting to do this. And so it's interesting to see small local businesses that they're on their way. They're on their way. A lot of times it's just the generic walking shot or like a sliding shot or a dolly or a zoom or a pan or whatever of their business or whatever it is that they do, or like their work truck. It doesn't even say anything. But if you can deliver something a little more, something that people can connect to because they're actually seeing you, the individual human being that runs this business, then it's even better. And it instantaneously elevates the messaging a little bit more than just some static shot of somebody's work truck. But in order to do so, you have to be comfortable with the fact that you're not necessarily going to know everything, and you can have a dialogue. I would say that's the other part that would help to unlock this whole feeling of embarrassment or shyness or whatever you want to call it, is have a conversation with your customer. Because sometimes I've worked in retail in the past, and I don't always know the answers to everything. And sometimes I have to stop and say, hey, give me a second, I'll get back to you. Or in this particular case with a video, you're speaking from the place that you are at right now. So if you don't necessarily want to portray yourself as dumb, as ignorant, what you can do is just give what you know at the moment, with the caveat that later, as you develop more of an understanding for what you provide, the products that you sell, the services that you put out there, that you'll put out more information as an update, which actually gives you room to create more content. That's the phenomenal part about this, is that as you grow and develop, you can put out more content along the way. And that is a very critical point as far as this mindset goes. You have to remember that you're an evolving human being, that you're constantly growing, that your business is not going to just spring up and be successful overnight, first of all, and that, yes, as important as every single customer is, you will have more customers down the road. And I don't know necessarily how long your particular business is going to be around or how long you intend it to be around. But if we can all imagine that it's going to be something that we do for the rest of our lives and it's going to be a career, you have to understand that there's room to grow, and it's okay to speak from the place that you're at right now, knowing that your knowledge base and your expertise is going to expand down the road. And so there's no need to necessarily feel embarrassed because, oh, John down the road knows so much more than me. The thing that matters is that people are coming to you and people feel that you're competent enough that you even have a business, that you even provide services or products to people. And so if that is already happening, that is enough of a reference for you to feel like, as far as my mindset goes, I'm good to go. I don't need to feel like I'm perfect or I'm superhuman and I've got this whole thing in the bag and I know everything that there is that I need to know about my particular industry. Give yourself room. Give yourself that grace to be able to develop. Anyways, I could belabor this point on and on, but I mean, yeah, there really is no point to keep hammering it home. If you need help on an individual basis, I can certainly provide that. If you want to that's actually a really good point. If you want to reach out to me, here's what we can do. If you want to reach out to me and you're having trouble getting in the headspace of being able to talk in front of a camera, what we can do on a one-on-one basis is we can get on a FaceTime call or a Skype call, whatever it is that you use, and we can talk through it so that you can get a feel for what it's like to do it in front of a camera, do it with one person, and then practice it on your own, and then go back and review that footage so that you can very gradually develop the skill of speaking in front of a camera and doing it confidently. If you need to take notes and line out the specific topics you want to discuss, do that if it makes it a lot easier. But other than that, there really ought to be no major hangups. It's not like the end of the world. If you stumble a few times here and there, you can always fix it. You can always give yourself the space down the road to say, hey, that was me at the time. I'm developing. I'm better now. That being said, I don't want to go on forever and keep rambling, so I'm going to wrap it up here. Thank you so much for watching this video. I do hope that it was absolutely helpful to you, or at least entertaining at the very beginning. That intro was kind of wacky, but I hope that you liked it. For those of you that got freaked out because there was a gun, it's okay. It's just a toy. I feel like I should put trigger warning at the beginning of this video or something. Anyways, I hope you liked it. If you have any thoughts, questions, comments, suggestions, or if you just want to say hi, or if you need help, or if you want some individual help sort of coaching through this and talking through the process, feel free to leave it down in the comments. Or if you want to, you can shoot me a direct message. If you liked this video and you happen to be on YouTube, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you like this video and you happen to be on Facebook, go ahead and give it a like. And I believe that's also a thumbs up at this point. Yeah. Or what actually even cooler is if you can drop like a reaction, like one of those emojis that pops up if you press and hold the like button a little bit longer. If you want to see more of these videos, and I've been making an effort to be really, really consistent about these videos on a weekly basis, go ahead and make sure that you either on YouTube subscribe to the channel, or go ahead and like the Facebook page. That's Echelon Media, and you'll be informed as I premiere these videos every single week. All that aside, mindset. Just remember, you already have everything it is that you need to know to be able to deliver information to your clients, prospects, leads, for that customer acquisition piece of your business, because you need customers to make your business go. That aside, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you liked it. My name is Mark with Echelon Media, helping you elevate your story. I'll see you again next time. Peace.